Well, that's the focus of our discussion tonight. Felix Tshisekedi has been announced as the provisional winner of elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. For more on this, I'm joined by Izak Khomo, a presenter on Channel Africa, and Evariste Ntumba, who is the spokesperson for the Congolese community in South Africa, as well as Chris Ocamringa, who's our correspondent in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thanks all so much for your time. Let's get a reaction on these election results so far.
Thank you very much for having us in your beautiful studio. The Congolese people, the Congolese community, DRC in South Africa, considers this as a tremendous victory, not only for the opposition party that won the election, the provisional election, but for the nation as a whole. Congolese people from all walks of life are very happy, and as just a commentator said earlier on, this is a new era, a new beginning for a new Congo, and we are very excited and happy that Congo has now been placed on a new record to embark on a massive developmental project in the upcoming years.
There's a lot of excitement, but there's also caution coming from the Roman Catholic Church, from former colonizer Belgium, as well as France.
Well, the Roman Catholic Church has no business to make all those comments, because if they've got any other thing, they should actually go and open a case at the Constitutional Court. Although they had 40,000 observers, but they were not there in telling the things there. And again, with people like France, Belgium, you see, the trouble with these elections that they were actually disturbed from the time that Western countries started interfering with the elections. You find that the Western countries, the EU in fact, they actually used to call the opposition leaders to Brussels to try to get them to get an individual candidate. They tried it many times. They tried about twice. Eventually, these people were taken to Brussels, where Martin Fayulu came in as the single candidate of the opposition. But now, what business does the European have to actually come and decide as to who the candidates should be? It's up to the Congolese people to decide who they've got to vote for. And right now, you find that Belgium is saying they're going to open a case, or they're going to report the whole thing to the Security Council. Belgium has got nothing to do with it. If the Congolese or any party is dissatisfied, they've got a constitutional court, they should go to the constitutional court and the matters will go forward. But why should the Western countries want to go to the Security Council? In fact, South Africa, it actually sort of stopped a hearing in the Security Council about the DRC. They said, let's wait for the results. So I think the Western countries really, they are disappointed that the results did not go their way, because basically Martin Fayulu is a choice not of the Congolese, it's a choice of the Western countries.
Can I just ask then, how much do we have to pay attention to issues like those voting machines that were from Korea not working, about 17% of them from South Korea not working, fires, burning lots of voting machines, people not finding their names on the voter rolls? Surely that is a cause for concern, even amid this jubilation of some people.
I think there is a reason for a concern, but that was resolved. We have discussed these issues earlier on this year about the voting machine, especially Martin Fayulu was not keen on going to election without machine. He said that I cannot be candidate for presidential election if the machine is maintained. And then he pushed the option. He said again, I will not be, we're going to election without a voting machine. However, the government maintained the machine simply because the Congo as a nation still faces a lot of infrastructure challenge. In terms of logistics, it was going to be almost impossible to manage these elections and bring the outcomes as we have now. So the government made sure that they were going to adopt a new system, a new option, which was going to be very easy, and that is the voting machine. Guess what? It's not the government, the Kabila's hand-picked candidate that won the election, but this is the opposition. However, on our side, as Congolese people, we're saying it's not about the opposition or the government or any other person. We consider this as a new era, because since 1960, Congolese people have not experienced a peaceful transition of power. We moved from dictatorship to dictatorship, etc., etc. And this is first and foremost a first time that we experienced a peaceful transition of power, and we should celebrate that. And that's why Congolese people are very happy. They celebrate all over the world, not only in Congo, but all over the world, in South Africa and in all other African countries. And we ask all African countries to support this celebration and to support the government as well.
Let's go to Kinshasa now. Chris is standing by. Give us a sense of what's taking place there and what type of celebrations and what the mood is like.
Thank you.
Chris, I'm just checking that you can hear me. Give us a sense of what's taking place in Kinshasa right now.
Okay. All right.
Perhaps we'll come back to him a little bit later on when we've sorted out that sound. Our apologies to our viewers. I don't want to harp on this point too much, but there were also lots of delays with regards to the election results coming out, which caused people to further worry that results are being tampered. Can we say that this election was free and fair, or are you saying it's more important that this change is happening, that the Kabila family is no longer in power?
No, there is a very clear explanation in the reason as to why the elections, the provisional results were delayed, all right? The opposition parties, all the stakeholders in these elections, requested the Electoral Commission to actually do the manual vote counting, whereas it was very easy and simple to complete the electronic results in one day or 2 days. But because they requested the Electoral Commission to do that, and Electoral Commission felt that it was not going to be an overnight duty, so that required more time, and that's why the vote was a little bit delayed. The provisional results were delayed. So those who make a lot of noise, and especially in the Western countries, there is a lot of, commotion, etc., and they are trying to tamper with everything. Democracy in DRC is nonsense, is absolute nonsense, and we reject those comments. So we asked our people, Congolese people, to be patient and until the final results were released by the Electoral Commission, because that was the only body responsible for releasing the results.
Let's try and go back to the DRC now. Chris, good evening. Give us a sense of what's happening there.
Good evening. So the situation in Kinshasa right now is very calm. People were celebrating. Supporters of Felix Tshisekedi were celebrating for the better part of the day. But right now, people have, coming to terms with the news that has just been released. Of course, members of Mr. Fayulu's party, Mr. Fayulu's supporters are discussing on what the next course of action is going to be. And there have been no incidents reported around the DRC so far.
We're getting a sense that there are a lot of people celebrating these provisional results. What have you seen?
Yes, that's very true. There's an area called Limite where the headquarters of the Union for Democracy and Social Progress Party is. That is the party of Felix Tshisekedi. People gathered, they blocked that whole road. Cars had to maneuver and go another direction. And across parts of Kinshasa, people woke up very early, drinking, dancing, women, men, young and old. They all gathered. They were saying, this is victory, this is a new dawn for our country. And the celebration was not just because of Felix Tshisekedi, but also more to do with the fact that President Kabila's handpicked candidate, Manu Ramazani, should have lost this election.
Okay, let's bring the discussion back into studio. Mr. Khomo, we know that there's quite a large expectation and excitement around these provisional results. Should people measure their expectations, especially because of the challenges that have been brought up when it comes to DRC?
Well, I don't get your question, but I mean to say that the expectations are there, because basically, as you can see, people are celebrating. And what it is this, that people were really, the thrust of these elections basically was to get the incumbent, Joseph Kabila, out of the presidency, or his chosen heir. And that has taken place, and so people are really celebrating. But the thing that people actually sort of worry about is this, that there will be no outbreak of violence. Now we hear that statements from the Roman Catholic Church where they say that the election results are faltered, and we see that Mr. Martin Fayulu is also saying that he's the one who wins, and he's calling his supporters to the streets to challenge the election. But I mean to say that with the Congolese constitution, it's very clear they've got a constitutional court. If any of them is actually sort of wants to challenge the result, they should go to the constitutional court. But the Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Church said they've got no intention of actually going to the constitutional court, simply because they've got no evidence to present to the court. But I think with that, they should be responsible and not actually come and whip up dissent amongst the people.
So my question around expectation was based on the fact that we're hearing that there was a large appetite for change and there was unhappiness. In other elections that we've seen, the most recent example I can think of is Zimbabwe. I know you earlier on said maybe Madagascar, where people wanted change after a long-serving ruler. There's euphoria, and after that euphoria passes, people are still disappointed because there's a lot of work to do to turn around a country. So I'm asking about people measuring their expectations and tempering it.
Well, I think the people of the DRC, they're very happy with that, because what they wanted to see a change, and the change has taken place. And the change was to get the government of Joseph Kabila out. And that's the change, and that's the euphoria. You can't compare it with the Zimbabweans. In the Zimbabwean elections have taken place, but the one party did not sort of get the expected change. Basically, that was an urban constituency. The urban constituency of Zimbabwe is the constituency that has suffered most. But people should understand that Zimbabwe is a different thing. It's a different kettle of fish, because the majority of Zimbabweans are rural. And the rural people, basically, they've benefited from the changes. People don't agree to that. But I mean to say now Zimbabwe is experiencing the highest output of tobacco ever under the same peasant farmers. The colonial farmers, the 6,000 farmers, have never produced the tonnages that have been produced now. Yeah? So basically, the rural constitution in Zimbabwe, it is divided. And it gave the people what they did get. I mean, so it put the incumbent into power. But with the DRC, basically the people are happy that there's a change. And that was the expectation. But what comes in front, what's going to happen, it's up to the new leader.
Of course, we're hearing about people who are happy with what's taken place. Someone who's not happy, obviously, is Martin Fayulu. Do we know, have we heard from him saying what kind of challenge he's going to take? Because he said that the elections appear to be a farce, and he called it an electoral coup.
Yes, Mr. Martin Fayulu disputed the election and said it was a coup. He described it as a coup. He's most likely going to go to court. He's been given 2 days. All the candidates who dispute the elections have 2 days to file a petition at the Constitutional Court, which will then announce the ruling within 10 days, and then the final results will be declared. So, Martin Fayulu, if he won, he says the Catholic Bishop Senko had observers, about 40,000 of them, across the country, and they know the right, the candidate who won the election. Implying that it was him. But of course, the Electoral Commission is the one that has the official results. That's what they get. So he's very disappointed about the event.
Okay, let's come back to the elections and the run-up to the elections. Do we have an idea if in any manner opposition parties were working together to reach this objective that we're saying at the end of the day people wanted Joseph Kabila out? How much collaboration was there and how much working together was there, not just with politicians but also people on the ground?
Of course, there was collaboration. We mentioned that earlier in the discussion. The opposition parties united behind a single candidate in Geneva just 1 month before the elections. However, Felix Tshisekedi felt, and his party felt, that was a betrayal because he is the majority party in DRC. His party, UDPS, is like ANC in South Africa. And by the fact that because Western countries apparently had a hand over those discussions and conversations, etc., wanting to impose their own candidate, the person who's going to serve their own interest. So they were not happy with the situation, and Tshisekedi broke the rank with them, and he stood on his own. He was only joined later on by Vital Kamerhe, and they decided to run a campaign of two people. And because they were supported by the masses of people, and they have a strong base in DRC, they managed to win the elections. So this is not the government that has won the election, it is an opposition party that has won the elections. So I would like to mention something about this, this anchor and this campaign, what we call the Western mass media strategy, which has to do with trying to impose us someone from of their own choice. We know that Martin Fayulu worked for American company, and behind Martin Fayulu there is Moise Katumbi, there is Jean-Pierre Bemba. Jean-Pierre Bemba is a criminal charged and found guilty by the International Criminal Court. Moise Katumbi is a criminal found guilty by the Congolese justice. So these two, having known that they won't have any chance to run for presidency in a new democratic Congo, they are trying to agitate fears, etc., to get a transition in DRC so that they can come back into the politics. But we people of DRC say we're no longer interested in political agreements, in the transitions. We are fed up with those systems. We want a constitutional democracy, and we want the rule of law, and we want our country to be stable, and we want anybody caught in the corruption or whatsoever to be taken to court and be punished accordingly.
Okay, let's speak about this voter base, the people who did turn out to vote. Was there any surprises in terms of who that was? Was there any particular group of voters who had an element of surprise, who led to this victory that we've seen?
Well, I don't know what you want to know. I don't think so. I mean, to say people went to vote, their minds were made up. So basically, I don't know what...
My question was around the profile of the type of voter who went out and made these decisions and led to this. So in the States, to use an example that's very long ago with Barack Obama, it was young people who were galvanized through social media to come out and vote. I'm asking if we're seeing any kind of patterns like that in the DRC.
Well, there's no pattern as that. I mean to say that Congo and Africa is a young country. It's a people of they're youngsters. Yeah, and basically the people who were actually in the streets for the last 2 years, it was the same youngsters, and they're determined. Yeah, so basically there's no pattern and there's everything else. But the vote that took place, the people who took place, it was actually a vote to get Joseph Kabila out of power. And the youth are the ones who have done it. And there's no particular group of people or particular generation that did the thing there. So basically it is just a protest vote.
Chris, give us an insight from your side into who was coming out of the polls, who are the people that you're seeing celebrating the most, and people who are contributing to in the run-up to those elections.
Well, in the run-up to the elections, there were reports that Martin Fayulu was more popular, and so many people in Kinshasa and other major cities around the DRC were, expecting a victory for him. And of course, there's some evidences of very many of them. They believe that the government struck a deal with the Felix Tshisekedi because of various reasons. The DRC's politics is very complicated. There's always dialogue, and the leaders are very concerned about the kind of person who's going to take over the reins of this country that is very rich in minerals and many other resources. And so most of the people that I've spoken to are saying, well, that's the DRC. The politics here is very complicated. You can't get to know whether the leaders are telling you the truth or it's a lie, but that's just how things are here. And that's what I can tell you from the views I've been hearing from the people.
Okay, let's give our viewers some more context into what these results mean. The president oversees foreign policy in the army, and the country's prime minister runs the country. Talk to us about where the prime minister is going to come from. Do we have an idea of when we're going to find out who that will be and the dynamics at play there?
According to our constitution, the prime minister is elected or chosen by the majority party in the parliament or the coalition that makes a majority in the parliament. First and foremost, all the national deputies must be elected, okay? And after that, they will be selecting a prime minister by the majority party or the coalition of the majority party in the parliament. So once they have made up their mind, they have to present 3 candidates to the president, who is going to appoint one of them to be the prime minister.
Mm-hmm. And how important is that role in the DRC going forward?
Well, it's very important because one thing, basically, the thing is this, that there's a danger that you may have a president and you may have a prime minister who comes from another party. Yeah, that was the constitution which was actually sort of established at the Sun City talks, yeah, whereby they went and emasculated the office of the presidency. But in another way, it's actually a guarantee that you're not going to have a big man president in power. And that's how the DRC has been run. So basically, it's actually a balance. So I think going forward, if the people of the DRC are serious, they're going to have a well-balanced executive, may I say, and also legislature, which will actually sort of balance each other and will lead the country to better levels, I suppose.
Let's get a quick update. Chris, we saw that the internet in the DRC was cut. People were apparently trying to prevent an uprising after the vote and anything to the elections. What's the status of the internet connection there now?
Yeah, the internet is still shut down. Internet and texting services. You can't send an SMS to anyone around Kinshasa or the country, because the government said that people were planning to cause an uprising, just like you mentioned. There was this rumor that was spreading that the government was planning to rig the election in favor of the ruling party candidate, Manuel Ramadan Shadari. People were certainly going to protest. There are some radical opposition activists who are saying they're going to go on the streets and there's going to be a serious protest. So the government said, look, to forestall any deaths, they had to shut down the internet and texting services so that people do not mobilize. Now that has affected internet service, telecom companies and businesses that rely on the internet significantly. People have made huge losses, and there's some individuals who have sued these companies. They want to be compensated for the losses that they have made so far.
Let's talk about Felix Tshisekedi as we wrap up the discussion. Who is he? What type of a leader do we believe he's going to be?
We're very positive about Felix Tshisekedi because not only he's a son of the veteran Tshisekedi, but he's a man of integrity. He is free of corruption. He's known as an innocent and hand-free man. That's why he's most enjoyed by all the Congolese people. He walked in his father's step, and I understand you may know that his father is not buried yet. He's still in Belgium, etc., etc. He's a good man. He doesn't have any record of wrongdoing in the society, or brutality, of senselessness, etc. He's 100% good man for now, and we believe with him at the head of our country, there's going to be a tremendous change.
Well, you said it all. Well, Tshisekedi has not been in power as such, and not only that, he does not come from this economic business group. People like Moise Katumbi and also Jean-Pierre Bemba. Jean-Pierre Bemba is a billionaire, not a millionaire. Yeah, the money that he has got it from his father, who was exchequer keeper of Mobutu. And we find that Katumbi, he has got a very dark side of these dealings when he was governor of Katanga. Yeah, he's also very wealthy. He's a billionaire. So basically, at least with Tshisekedi, we can say that there's a person who is not tainted. As my comrade said, he's not tainted. And let's hope he's going to do good for the Congolese people.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time on the record. Izak Khomo, presenter at Channel Africa, Evariste Ntumba, who's the spokesperson for the Congolese community in South Africa, as well as Chris Ocamringa, who is our correspondent in the DRC. Thanks so much for joining us on